How's it going, Assassin News? Is No Data here with another Roblox Assassin video, and today I'm giving you guys a little bit of deathmatch gameplay because you know what? I don't play deathmatch enough. Honestly, I do not play deathmatch enough. Pretty much all the time I'm on classic mode because, you know, given that competitive hasn't been around for a month, which, you know, it should come back soon. October is here, guys, so, you know, there's a new bundle coming out soon, hopefully, and competitive mode should return at some point. But, you know, it's kind of getting to the point where Elegant Blade is going up in value because competitive mode hasn't been around. You know, it's gonna go down at some point, trust me. That's why I don't have Elegant Blade. I just traded for Skeleton King and it's just gone. But yeah, given that competitive mode hasn't been around, I've really been mostly in classic mode. I'm mostly in classic mode anyway, regardless, but you know, the point is, I really don't play deathmatch that often, so I gave you guys a bit of deathmatch gameplay along with this post commentary that I'm giving you right now, which I also really don't do that often. You know, when I started this channel, I kind of intended for most of my videos to be post commentary, and that seems to be the opposite, which, you know, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Don't get me wrong. Do what people like, do what you like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I really haven't been doing post commentary that often, so I'm doing one right now. And honestly, I'm kind of curious as to which kind of video you guys prefer, post commentary or present commentary. You know, would you rather have me talk while recording, or, you know, record and then talk, you know, have them separate? You know, so if you would take the time to click that little eye on the top right corner right now and let me know which kind of video you prefer. You know, I'm going to do both types regardless. I'm going to do both types of videos either way, but I am kind of curious as to which one you guys prefer, so feel free to vote and just let me know, because I'm curious as to what you guys would like to see on this channel. But enough rambling. Today we are going to be talking about scamming. Now, a lot of comments that I get on my videos, pretty much like 25% of my comments is no data, I got scammed, can you help me? And my response is, unfortunately, I cannot. I can't help every single person that gets scammed. And the reason for that is, you know, number one, a lot of people get scammed. Again, like 25% of my comments are I got scammed. So, you know, I have a lot of knives, but I literally cannot afford to give that many people knives. It just, I can't do it, because it's a lot of people. So that's why. And secondly, if I did do something like that, a lot of people would just take advantage of that and say that they got scammed when in reality they didn't. And I could do something like, oh, give video evidence. But you can just fake scam with like a friend, and then that's video evidence, obviously. So I really can't do that. So yeah, that's why I usually can't give knives to people who got scammed. But what I can do is help prevent getting scammed in the first place. You know, scamming is a lot like bullying. You know, you can't get rid of bullying altogether. You know, it's always going to be around in some shape or form. But what you can do is teach people how to deal with bullying. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I can't get rid of scamming. I can't help after you've gotten scammed. But I can help prevent getting scammed in the first place. Because something that you should know is that pretty much all scams are preventable. You know, by no means will I place the blame on somebody else, like, oh, you shouldn't have gotten scammed, because obviously the scammer should get the blame. But it is important to know that all scams are preventable if you know what to do, and that's what I'm going to be talking about right now. Guys, I'm going to talk about how to not get scammed. You know, I've only been scammed once in my whole life, and it was an honest mistake. You know, I'll leave a video to that. Again, click the eye in the top right corner. I'm going to be using a lot of cards because I'm just going to be referring to past videos. But again, I've only been scammed once in my life, and it was a mistake. And, you know, I'm a high prestige, and I've never ever been scammed. So, guys, watch this video, and I'm going to explain how to not get scammed. And if you follow this video all the way through, you know, assuming like nobody's cheating or exploiting to take your stuff, if you follow this video perfectly, you will 100% never be scammed. I'm serious, alright? This isn't clickbait. If you follow this perfectly, you will never get scammed again. So I'm going to, you know, start off and tell you guys what to do. Now, firstly, you know, a lot of these tips come from the Murder Mystery Prestige's scam prevention list, and that talks about how to not get scammed in Murder Mystery 2. And you're probably wondering, well, why do I need to know that? This is Assassin. But as you are no doubt aware, it's pretty much the same trading system. You know, 4 slots for 4 different things, and then a little countdown. You know how it is. So, you know, it's pretty much the same. So, the scams that people do are pretty much identical. So, even if you don't play Murder Mystery whatsoever like I do, you can still read this, and it talks about how to not get scammed. Just go to the Murder Mystery 2 value list, and it will show this. It shows the scam prevention tips, and you can read it to your heart's desire. I'm not going to say everything in the scam prevention tips. I'm just going to say most of it, obviously. So, without further ado, we are going to begin. And the first thing that you should always do is know your values. This is very, very important. You gotta make sure, you gotta know what values are worth, what knives are worth what value. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, because if you don't, then people could scam you. Voice crack. Big scam. You know, people could scam you. So, you know, I showed that off in my little video. I'll put another card. Click the eye in the top right corner to watch that video. But I completely demonstrated this. I completely demonstrated if you do not know your values, you will get scammed. I literally went into a game with the Skeleton King, pretending not to know a value. Pretending not to know the value of Skeleton King, and there were many people trash-talking Skeleton King. Because they wanted it, they wanted a good deal on it. So that happens all the time. So it is important to know your values. You know, which value list should you use? I recommend Zikoi's value list, because let's be honest, guys, the Zikoi value list is borderline official. I don't know if it's completely official, but let's be real, guys. Zikoi, the creator of this value list, has a ban hammer. Like, Chrisman, the creator of Assassin, literally gave him a ban hammer for helping out the game and the community. So let's be real, it's pretty much a borderline official by now. So that's the best one to use. So, you know, there are other value lists, but I highly recommend Zikoi's to, you know, use. So you need to know your values on that list. You gotta memorize it. Well, you don't have to memorize it. You can memorize it. You can bookmark it on your computer browser or something. You could print it if you want, but I don't really recommend printing it, as the value list changes from time to time. And that kind of leads into my next point. It is important to check the value list from time to time. Even if you've perfectly memorized it, you should check it from time to time, as it changes very frequently. And, you know, new knives come into Assassin, and those values get added and changed quite often. So check the value list from time to time, and, you know, use those values to your advantage. You know, make sure you're not getting scammed. You know, don't listen to anyone saying, oh, this knife isn't worth that much. You know, again, the value list, I don't believe, is completely official. I mean, it might be official, but even so, you don't have to agree with it. You know, like a fire elemental, for example, it's only worth like 19. Shouldn't it be worth more? Well, you know, that's your opinion. So if you want something for more, then by all means you can. You know, that's your opinion. But it's still important to know what is worth on the value list and what most people are going to be willing to trade for, because again, most people follow that list. And, don't listen to somebody who's completely off. If somebody's telling you Skeleton King is worth 3 exotics, they're wrong, alright? Those people are trying to scam you, honestly. So, don't listen to those people. And now, we are going to be talking about the ways that people get scammed. Because in order to know how to not get scammed, it is important to know how people get scammed in the first place, obviously. So, we are going to begin. So firstly, to not get scammed, firstly, don't give your weapons to people that you don't know. A lot of people pretty much ask to borrow your knife. A lot of people do that. It's very common. It's a very common scam. People will come up to you and say, hey, can I borrow your weapon for 1 round? And I will give it back to you after that round. And, that's mostly a scam. Like, they're just trying to take your knife. And, some people might amp it up a bit. They'll say, oh, if you let me borrow your knife for 1 round, I will give you this free exotic or this free mythic. Again, it's still a scam. If you let them borrow your weapon, they are going to just run off with it. They're going to leave, and you're never going to see that knife again. So, don't do it with people you don't know. And, some people might even take it to the extreme. They will literally, talk to you and, be friends with you to eventually borrow your knife. And, some people might actually just want to genuinely borrow your knife and be friends. But my policy is, if you're going to let people borrow your knife, just make sure you know them in person. Whether you've Skyped or you actually know that person in real life, like if they go to your school or something, you should know that person pretty well. Don't give your knives to people who are just Roblox friends. That's what I do, at least. So, that's pretty much my tip for that. If you don't know the person, don't let them borrow your knife. They're just going to run off with it. And nextly is that duplicating does not exist. This is very important. There are always going to be people saying, hey, I can duplicate knives. Give me your knife and I will duplicate it for you. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book, And, don't do it. There has been glitches throughout the history of Assassin where you could duplicate knives, but, that's long gone by now. That was a long time ago when, freaking Flame Mace, Bad Scythe, etc. was unboxable. Maybe even earlier than that, like when Corrupted Axe was unboxable or something. So, guys, don't listen to people who say that you can duplicate. So just don't listen to them. Don't give them your knives. They're probably just going to take your knife and leave. So don't listen to those people. They're trying to scam you. And up next, another way that a lot of people scam is something I like to call a crafting scam. You've probably seen this at some point in your life. It's basically where, let's say you're in a game, right? You're in Assassin and you have 1 legendary. Let's just say that. You have 1 legendary, and then somebody else comes into a server, and they have 5 legendaries. Now, obviously, you need 6 to craft an exotic, so they come up to you and say, hey, give me the legendary that you have, and I will craft it into an exotic for you, and give it to you. And there's a lot of variations of this kind of scam. Let's say, like, a mythic, obviously. Like, you're 1 knife away from a mythic, like Ice Ancient. You're like 2 Ice Lords away. Somebody has 2 Ice Lords. They could say, give an Ice Lord and I'll craft Ice Ancient. And probably one that is starting to appear quite frequently because of the Dream Knives. People are starting to say, give me a mythic and I will craft a Dream Knife for you. And, going back to the 6 legendaries for exotic, situation, my response every time I see that kind of scan, I've seen like hundreds of them. My response is always, well, if you want me to get an exotic, why don't you just give me your 5 legendaries? That's always my response, because there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. You're gonna get an exotic anyway, whether they craft an exotic for you and give it to you, or just give you the 5 legendaries. Honestly, getting the 5 legendaries is just easier. So why don't they just do that? And if they're not willing to do that for you, then guys, they are trying to scam you 100%. So do not listen to them. Alright? You know, they're just going to take your legendary, craft an exotic, and leave. So that's what's going to happen. So please avoid those types of scams. And another type of scam is the giveaway scams, which I've also seen quite frequently. Not as much as the crafting scam, but it's still pretty common. And it's basically where somebody says, I'm going to give away this knife. Like, I'm going to give an example. You know, you're on a server, and somebody comes with a dream knife, a frostbite. Let's say a frostbite, and they say, I'm going to give away a frostbite to one lucky winner. In order to enter, you have to give an exotic. And guys, don't listen to those people. It's a scam. You know, giveaways, true giveaways are free. I do giveaways all the time on this channel, and it's completely free. You know, you don't have to pay money. You don't have to give me an exotic or anything. All you have to do is like, comment, subscribe on the video. That's super easy, and then you have a chance to win. So you don't have to give a knife or anything. So why should you have to give a knife to other people for a giveaway? Don't do that. If somebody's making that type of giveaway, just don't do it, because they're gonna pretty much take anybody's knife, everybody that enters, and leave. So, you know, just don't do it. And now we are going to move on to probably one of the really common type of scam is the split trades and the Robux trades. And I'm putting this in one, you know, section, like one type, because, you know, they're pretty similar. And basically, a Robux trade is, you know, pretty self-explanatory. It's when somebody trades a knife for Robux or vice versa. And meanwhile, a split trade is basically a trade that requires more than one trade, if that makes sense. I'll give an example for that. Basically, you know, somebody has a knife that's worth, let's say, 8 exotics. You know, there's not really a knife out there at the moment that's worth 8 exotics, but for the sake of this example, we're gonna go with that. Let's say somebody has a knife worth 8 exotics, and congratulations, you have 8 tier 1 exotics, 8 different tier 1 exotics, and you know, you want to trade for that. But so you want to do that, great, but what's the problem here? The problem is there's only 4 slots in the trade. So, you know, so what are you gonna do? Well, the person you're trading with tells you, oh, give me 4 of your exotics first, and then we'll make another trade, and and then you'll trade the rest of your exotics, and I will give you the knife that's worth 8 exotics. And what's the problem with that? The problem is you could give your first 4 exotics, and they could just leave. They could just scam you out of 4 of your exotics. That's half of your knives, and that's it. You're never going to see them again. And you know, it's the same with Robux trades. You know, you could give somebody your knife, and then they're going to say, oh, I'm going to give you Robux, and then you don't get your Robux. They're just going to leave. And, you know, I always try to stray away from those types of trades. You know, I try to just avoid them in general, because they are scary. They're very, very scary. There's a very high risk of getting scammed. So, my advice to you is to avoid those types of trades altogether. But if you really do want to do that kind of trade, you know, try to use a trusted middleman. And you're probably going to ask, well, where can I find a trusted middleman? Well, if you go to the Assassin Discord, again, made by Zikoi, there is a little section, like, there's like a little middleman section. You know, I don't go on that Discord that often, but there is a middleman section where you can talk to trusted middlemans who are known for not scamming. So, if you get those people, and you can let them middleman, so, you know, they can take the knives and, like, make the trade kind of happen at once, if that makes sense, and make the trade completely fair, then you can totally do, like, a split trade or, like, a Robux trade, although that's kind of, it's still kind of weird to do. I mean, you can, like, give the middleman, like, your knife or something, but it's still kind of difficult to do for a Robux trade. But, again, you know, let's say you don't have a middleman. You really want to do a trade. There's no middleman. So what do you do? Again, I don't really advise you to do this, but if you really, really choose, and what I'm about to say is kind of contradictory, and you'll see why once I say it, but if you so choose to do that, what I have to say to you is get what you want first. And again, you can see how that's kind of contradictory. First of all, once that happens, you have the power to scam, which I don't advise, but unfortunately you do have the power to scam, and that's one thing. Second of all, let's say 2 people watch this video, and then they end up doing like a split trade or a Roblox trade, and they're both following my advice. They're gonna both want what they want first, and then you're kind of just at a stalemate here because you're both scared of getting scammed, and you know, nothing really happens. In which case, just drop the trade. Like, if you're both scared of getting scammed, it's just not gonna happen. Just drop the trade from there. You know, get what you want first or no deal. And if you do get what you want first, please don't scam. Don't scam the other person. That's just not nice, honestly. Just don't do it. But that is my advice for that. And a couple of other things. Another tip that I would give you is, you know, just pay attention when you're trading. And, you know, you don't really need to pay so much attention anymore. But, you know, I'm going to tell you guys a little tale. You know, once upon a time when I first started playing Assassin, trading was a bit different. As in, there was no countdown. There was literally no countdown to it. You know, you just put in something and you could accept or decline immediately. And, you know, it was cool. I didn't really mind it that much. But what was the problem with it? The problem was somebody could, you know, offer you something and then quickly take their knife out and accept it. And then you could quickly do the trade and you could realize, wait, they took out their knife. And then you accidentally gave somebody a knife for free. And then they're just going to leave with it. And personally, I never fell for those types of trades, but a lot of my friends definitely have. People have tried to do it to me countless times. They would just take their knife out and then try to accept it super quickly. Luckily, I've paid attention to the trades that I am doing, and I've managed to avoid all those types of scams. And then in the February update, a little countdown came. So, you know, that doesn't happen anymore. But I'm still going to give that advice. Be careful and make sure you know what kind of trades you're doing. Because, you know, technically that can still happen. You know, you could be doing a trade and not really paying attention. And then you accidentally do a trade that's really bad. You know, I've been guilty of almost doing that. It's just like I wasn't really paying attention to a trade. And I kind of took the risk of not doing it, you know, not doing a good trade. So that's pretty much all of my advice for that. And, you know, there's a couple of other tips, like, you know, don't go to off-site links, you know, use two-step verification because, you know, you can get hacked, and if you're hacked, people can easily take your knives and just give it to somebody for free, or disassemble those exotics. That's really screwed up if that actually happens. You know, luckily my account has a lot of security, so, you know, that's pretty much everything. That is my advice to you guys. I've pretty much touched on pretty much every type of scam. And guys, the last tip I'm going to give you is, if you are uncomfortable with a trade, don't do it. If you're scared of scamming, if you're scared of getting scammed in any trade whatsoever, whether it be Robux or borrowing or a split trade, if you're uncomfortable with a trade, don't do it at all. You know, if you're in doubt, don't do it. That's just the final thing. For any reason whatsoever, you know, again, because if you get scammed, you really can't go back. Nobody can really help you for that. So, you know, be careful, and if there is a trade you aren't uncomfortable with, just refuse. Just don't do it. And that's my final piece of advice to you guys. And that is pretty much it for this video. I pretty much touched on every type of scam that can happen on Roblox Assassin. And I hope you guys learned something from this. If you follow this video perfectly, you will never get scammed again. You know, there will be people who will try to scam you, and you won't. You will not fall for those if you follow this video. You know, the worst case scenario is that there's like an exploit that takes your knives, but those are very rare, you know. I've made a video about those types of people. I'll put a card right there, so don't forget to check it out. Click the eye on the top right corner. And that is pretty much it for this video, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and those other things that YouTube people do. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Toodles!